My name is Rick. I've been working for Passion Pictures London for the past 2 years as an art director. And I've worked on many of these commercials you just saw, music videos as well, like Gorillas, some Compare the Market stuff even, Coke Zero and so on. And just recently we finished this Jack Daniels commercial, which is a project I'll be talking to you guys about today, which you saw a few shots over there. And if I start telling you guys a little bit about the project's history first, it all started when Jack Daniels wanted to release this new product, and it was the first time after 14 years, and throughout this whole time they hadn't released anything. So they came up with this product called Jack Daniels Tennessee Honey. And when they approached the agency responsible for this ad, which is Arnold Worldwide in New York, this is all back in New York, by the way, they wanted something, really cool looking to kind of kickstart this campaign. And it was going to be filled with other ads and even mobile games. So Arnold came up with this concept of a bee wearing a motorcycle helmet and goggles with Jack Daniels tattoos all over. There you go. And flying across the jungle, smashing onto things. Cool enough. And when Arnold approached us, they came to one of our main directors at Passion Pictures, Pete Canalan, who is best known for having directed all the Gorillaz music videos, some of the Rock Band cinematics as well. And Pete was really, really excited about this project, not only because it was a really cool project to do, but also for the fact that he just recently had opened the New York office, and it was just a great opportunity for giving the New York office a big boost. Because up until that point, they were only doing pre-production of commercials, and actual production was being done in London or elsewhere. And for the first time, he was going to do a full-on CG animated commercial. So let me stop talking and show you guys this project. So you can see that one of our main challenges here was to create this fully CG realistic macro world. And first thing that you think when you hear macro is out of focus and depth of field, really narrow depth of field, and then how all these backgrounds transform into really abstract forms once they're out of focus. And everything that is in focus will get your eyes special attention. You're going to look straight at the bee when it's in focus. So, having that in mind, we had to work really extra hard on all the models and textures, and even little deformations on the wings and hair, so we could get everything in, so we could look as realistic as we could make it. So if I give you guys an overall look first of the comp, and you can see it's really, really simple comp. And usually when we're doing fully CG animated commercials at Passion, we tend to separate everything into loads of different passes. So you'd have, diffuse, separated from the reflection, subsurface, hair, everything separate. One of the commercials I did, Coke Zero, we had more than 20 passes. And it's usually the way to go, but on this one, I just decided to keep everything really, really simple, especially because we didn't really have much time to be fiddling around with anything. And you can see here that we had character beauty, a character occlusion, just environment beauty, environment occlusion. Maybe we had the wings separate here as well, if you can see them at any point. Let's see. There you go. And a depth pass for it all. And if I just run through the comp really quickly, you can see it's composited. I have the character beauty here, and then just sandwich everything together. So I put the wings right there, background in, and then occlusion-wise, I just tend to get the occlusion and just separate it into two occlusions. I grade the occlusion so I can have only really the cavities available here. And another one, which is really where you have kind of contact shadows of everything onto everything. So, you know, the narrow occlusion is usually to get the cavities a bit more visible. So you can see here the difference. And the spread out occlusion is for general kind of, to give it a lot more volume. So you can have the contact shadows on top of everything like that. And just here, if I just give you a quick overall first, we have the grading, depth of field first, of course, which is really, really important in this commercial. There you go. And you have the grading right there. And just some chromatic aberration here and grain. And that would be the final output before grading, for final grading in telecine. And if I just focus a little bit more on grading first, you know, usually at Passion we go through many different jobs, and one of the jobs, like if you have like VFX, for example, where you have, you know, CG elements or CG characters or particles being integrated into a live action environment, you have to be very physically accurate about everything. You need, you know, the CG character, the reflection of the eye to be spot on. You need the shadow and the midtones. Even in the comp, you know, all the colors need to be exactly the same as a live action. Even the grain, you need to go through red, green, and blue channels and just match the grain perfectly. And it's in jobs like this where everything is CG, where you just feel like you can be really free and just, you know, make it look as beautiful as you can. And if I just take this as an example for you guys first, where I take straight off the 3D render and just grade it a little bit. Usually what I do here is I create a rotoscope. It's a quick mat of where I want my area of focus to be. And you can see it here. And if I just blur this a lot, like that, I can just get that mat and just grade everything around it a little bit darker. If I go over the top like that, you can see it's a little bit too much. But I just grade it a little bit, just to give it, you know, because usually when you cut into shot, you want your eye to go straight to where it matters. Especially on a really quick commercial like that, it's only 30 seconds. So you need your eye to just go straight to where the area in focus. So just grade this a little bit down, and maybe just grade the B a little bit up, like that. Same thing with saturation, really important. You know, you get everything around it. I'm just inverting the mat here. Just get everything around it and just grade saturation a little bit down like that. And on the B, saturation a little bit up. Only that already makes a massive difference. You know, here, when you cut into shot, your eye is just going straight to the flower here, because that's the part that is really in focus as well, and your eye goes straight there. So when you just grade that down a little bit, first thing you see here is your eye goes straight to the B. And, you know, it's little cheats like that that really, really make a difference. And we do the same thing with depth of field here, which is really, really important in this case, is when you get the depth of field straight off the bat, like so, this is telling your depth of field plugin that, you know, the black area is going to be in focus, white area is going to be completely out of focus. And in this case, we don't really want that, because if you see here, let me just apply the plugin here. This is Frischlift Lenscare, by the way, which is amazingly fast in Nuke. You can see that, you know, here everything is out of focus, really good, but here still the flower is still in focus, and we don't really want that. Even though we have graded it down a little bit, it's still too much, and your eye goes straight there. So what we want to do here is get the depth pass, just grade it a little bit, like so, invert it, blur it a little bit so we don't have any problems with edges, and just really just lay it on top, just like that. So this is going to tell your depth of field plugin that this area is going to be out of focus as well. And if you check the difference, just zoom in a little bit here. And there you go. And if I turn this off, you see this is the renderer scanline is going to go through. There you go. And this was a little bit too much here. I was going to go straight there. So you just want to take that out of focus a little bit. And really, it's differences like that really, really make a difference. If I show you guys the particles we did for this as well, because macro worlds like this, particles are really, really important. And in a lot of shots, we did do the particles in 3D. Usually, we did it in 3D when you had some interaction with the bee. So if the bee was flying really close to the particles, lingering, all the dust and pollen floating around, you would need the particles to kind of follow the bee's movement when it's flying. But in this case, we did it kind of the old-fashioned way, because we didn't have the new Nuke particles to work with, because I was using an older version of Nuke. But if I show you guys here, I just use some stock footage. And if I increase the exposure here, you can see some of it. And I just used actually the same footage 3 times. I just offsetted the time here between them. And what I did is I used Nuke's 3D system to place them in. Now if I just show you here where we are, let me just zoom out, see if I can find it. And it's just so quick and easy to do that, where you just have all your cards right there, your camera straight off XSI with the right animation, and you just get some reference objects as well to kind of know where you are in relation to the camera and know where to position the cards. And just like that, you could position, it was really important not only for positioning for us, but also because it was a macro world, so you need to take off some of these particles out of focus. And by distance exactly which ones you need to take out of focus. So the ones in front, a little bit out of focus. The ones right next to the flower, really sharp. And the ones in the far back, extremely out of focus. And it's just, if you see the, let me show you the end result here. There you go. And this is before a few other gradings here as well, which I just keep on adding grading, which is really useful in Nuke because it's all floating points, so you don't need to worry about grading everything at one point. You can just grade it anywhere you want without having to worry about losing information in the dark or in the highlights. So here I just grade in the end as well, a little bit more. And here what I'm doing is adding some chromatic aberrations. If I zoom in here a little bit, you can see that there's a little bit of displacement between the channels. And it's an effect that's been really, really overused nowadays, but if you just add a little bit, it just gives it that photographic element that makes everything looks a little bit more real. And here at Passion we did this gizmo, which right here I turned it into a group. And gizmos are really cool in Nuke because you can just get any portion of a script and just collapse it into one node. And if I show you up here, this is an actual gizmo where you can just turn this into a group. You copy to group, and it just becomes a group inside Nuke. And any group you can just export as a gizmo as well. So you go here, this is a group already. It used to be a gizmo for us. But I can just show you if I Control-Enter, you can see what's going on inside. I'm just lens distorting the red channel and the green channel separately, and then just joining them in together afterwards. And it's things like that in Nuke where you can just do it so quickly that really make a difference. Especially when you have last-minute changes, which is, if you work with commercials, you know exactly what I'm talking about. On this shot, let me talk a little bit about how we organize things as well. I tend to get all my read notes up here in the comp. I know a lot of people have the read notes right straight inside the comp as well, but I think it just gets a little bit messy. Because then when you have to replace anything, you just have to go through the whole comp and find where exactly you have to replace. Oh, is it character beauty? Where is it again? So here we can just organize all the nodes up here, all the read nodes, and everything else are postage stamps. So if I just show you real quickly here, if I just go postage stamp, and this is a really cool feature where you can just instance any bit of the project and any node anywhere else. So if I want, for example, the bee's occlusion somewhere else, I can just get the postage stamp here. and just place it anywhere else, and it's going to be instanced right there. And then if I want to just hide this input, I can just go hide input, and when I deselect it, it just disappears like that. And if you see all my connections in here, I just select everything. You can see where all the postage stamps are coming from, where all the connections are coming from, which is extremely, extremely useful to keep everything organized. And you know, when I say last minute, I just have to show this to you guys. Like, in this project, in the beginning of it, the client wanted everything to be extremely simple. So he only wanted a bee in the beginning on the top of the flower, 1 or 2 plants in the background, and that was about it. Everything else is going to be pitch black, really graphical approach. And Nuke came into play big time for us when the client changed his mind, which usually happens in commercials. He just decided that he wanted a way, way more populated scene than before. And you know, for us at that point, we couldn't really go back to 3D because there was no time. We couldn't just go back and position these really heavy models and render them, and then, oh, the new layout doesn't work, we have to go back. So what we had to do is do everything in Nuke. And you can see here that this is called the guide, which was one image I had that was a guide of all the plants we had in 3D. And thank God I had that image with an alpha channel, because I used that afterwards to position plants inside Nuke as grids. So what I did here is I cropped one plant individually, so we can have every plant one by one like that. And just so easily we could just position everything inside Nuke. Just like that, imported the camera from XSI, and just got the movement straight off the bat like that, and could, with the director sitting right next to us, we just positioned every plant one by one just like that, and had a way, way more populated scene than before. And you know, even though in this scene, you can barely see it actually, because we only had 6 plants, but some of these shots where the bee is flying, flying past the jungle, we had to put so much more plants right there inside Nuke. Like, we had some of the shots way more than 30 plants positioned inside Nuke, just like that, so quickly. And if I just show you guys the end result here, this is all out of focus in the background, so this is kind of the wrong frame to show the plants, but it's a good frame to show the bee. Really close-up hero shot. And when I say last minute, I mean very, very, very last minute. On this last shot, we had pretty much everything delivered. Everything was approved. We were in Thiele grading, and we had a link set up with New York where the client was watching everything being graded. And at that point, he decided that the last shot, there was something wrong there. He couldn't see the label well enough, the black label, before it dissolved with a shockwave into the new label. And he decided he wanted to see some more. And even though we were 3 hours from final delivery to send the tape back to New York, we just had to do it, the client's orders. So I just ran back to Passion Pictures, opened up Nuke, and again, no time to go back to 3D. So I just imported the label straight onto Nuke. There you go. Got the texture in, put a funk shader, put some lights in that was kind of mimic where the 3D lights were inside the 3D scenes. Imported the camera from XSI again, and just like that, we had a brand new label in the exact same spot. And just use a few mats here to get the bottle out of the way, just like so. And of course there was the shockwave as well. And initially the black label was only really visible on these particles, because the black label was made of particles and on the edges. So what I had to do here was this is just integration. I had to scale it down a little bit and matte all the parts that I wasn't going to use anymore. And in the background, I just placed that new label right there. And if I show you guys how it all turned out, that's where Nuke came in to save the day. And there you go, that was the final shot. And you know, I hear a lot about how some people think that you need to be very technical minded to learn how to use Nuke, or to, use Nuke in general. But I don't think that to be true at all. I think Nuke has a very, very creative approach. And the way you create your nodes and you grade everything, you just can easily add and change so quickly to the comps that it just makes these tools completely unnoticeable. And from an artist point of view, that's exactly what you need. You don't need to struggle with the tools at all, you know? And I think Nuke's workflow and interface really makes sure of that. Thank you.